Call this one after Trump and Rogan, the mainstream media is dead. This is news from 5D. I'm Otis 5D.
News from 5D with Otis 5D.
All right, so we'll start with Sean Ryan. I got a bunch of stuff to look at. We're just going to kind of go through stuff. This is kind of a fun little thing. So Sean Ryan, podcast host extraordinaire. Salute to you, Mr. GOAT. This was the final nail in the coffin for legacy media. It's over. All the lies, all the propaganda. It's just done. No politician will ever be able to hide behind 5-minute news bites again from controlled news anchors again. We'll be able to hide behind 5-minute news bites again from controlled news anchors again. Well, that was a little mistake, but it's okay. It's a great day to be alive. Rogan, Trump mark a historic event. Thank you. So, yeah, good. Yeah, it's over. You can't bullshit in the same way you could bullshit prior to this. There is going to be a requirement that you do this, because if you don't, why aren't you doing it? So then Uncle Marty Bent says the mainstream media is officially dead. Just short and sweet, and I totally agree, because who fucking gives a fuck about these dumb fucks anymore? And the answer is retards, and the number of retards is steadily in decline because of all of the access to unfettered conversations. Shout out to you if you remember that reference. Okay, so let's just keep it moving. We're going to close out Uncle Marty. What comes next? Nice. Hey, this is what I was hoping for. So we just kind of, we'll just work through stuff. Nice. Okay, this is cool. So Matthew Peterson quote tweets Catherine Boyle. So we'll start with Catherine Boyle. Shout out to American Dynamism, A16Z in the building. The most remarkable thing that Team Trump has done this election is to find a new medium, not TV, not debate, not rallies, a medium with different and fractured audiences that isn't captured, and then systematically put two candidates, that's Vance and Trump, on every major podcast until they worked their way up to the Super Bowl of podcasts, Rogan. Here's a candidate who everyone knows, everyone has an opinion on, but they decided to reintroduce him in a totally different medium that allows him to talk and talk and talk, flood the zone of information in a medium that's more smiles and shooting the shit than hits. Love him or hate him, there's a reason the phrase media genius was used when in 2016 when he won Hey, so people keep making mistakes and they live to see another day. When in 2016, when he won with rallies and television audiences, no one saw this strategy coming. This is truly the podcast election. Elon says exactly. Abe Murray says, yes, this should be the future model in a world of fast internet and direct message distribution. That's straight up biology stuff. Go direct. There's no reason to go through classic channels. 2016 Twitter, 2024 podcasts. Indoke says, not to mention those podcast highlights, this is a very good point, are also edited into short format video. They can be rebroadcast again into the ether, thereby occupying even more mind share. Very good point. And could be overlooked. It's obvious, but could easily be overlooked. Matthew Peterson, Doc MJP, the real MVP, says, truth. I tell this to speechwriters and others in politics behind the scenes every year. There's a lot more to say, but the televisual era and its rehearsed written speeches in search of a soundbite is long since over. The return of sprezzatura is here. What an intellect. Just throwing out sprezzatura like it's nothing. There's a lot more to say, but the televisual era and its rehearsed written speeches in search of a soundbite is long since over. The televisual era and its rehearsed written speeches in search of a soundbite is long since over. Well said. What do we got next? We got this guy. Okay, what do we got here? Torba. We got Torba coming up. Torba has, this is a good one. This is a very good one. We have witnessed a monumental shift in the way information is disseminated and consumed across aspects of society in a very short period of time. The once impenetrable walls of discourse control erected by a select few narrative gatekeepers have been torn down, leaving a landscape of open dialogue and unrestricted access to information. Censorship, long the weapon of choice for those who sought to maintain their grip on power and control public perception, has lost much of its effectiveness. The internet, social media platforms, podcasts, and alternative media outlets have provided a platform for tens of millions of people to access information and truth that were previously hidden from the masses. This collapse of narrative gatekeepers has been met with resistance from the old guard, focus on this, who have been left powerless to stop the tide of change. Their attempts to maintain control have only served to highlight their desperation and the irrelevance of their once dominant position. As we move forward into this new era of truth and freedom, it is essential to recognize the importance of maintaining an open and honest dialogue. The power to shape public discourse now lies in the hands of the people, and it is up to each individual to use this power responsibly and to seek out the truth. This is a little bit preachy, this part, I have to say, even though it's cute. No matter how uncomfortable or inconvenient it may be, this is the important part. The future belongs to those who embrace the collapse of narrative gatekeepers and the unrestricted flow of information. The future belongs to those who embrace the collapse of narrative gatekeepers and the unrestricted flow of information. This guy right here, bet on this guy, $Otis. What do we got now? Okay, so let's fix this up a minute. Give me a second. Okay, what do we got? Oh, yeah, nice. Bro, I should have made this its own video, but whatever. There is massive far left censorship at Google, YouTube. Fuck, bro, like demonic levels of censorship. If you search Joe Rogan Trump on YouTube, the interview no longer comes up. It's replicable. Try it yourself. How do they do this shit? It's so fucking evil. How do they? I guess they do. It's like that. It's like the beginning of Fight Club when he talks about how the way they determine whether they recall a car or not is just like if it costs them more to recall, or like in the lawsuits. It's kind of like that. It must be that they're like, whatever credibility they lose from non-evil people, they feel like they gain more in hiding the interview from the fucking brainwashed midwits. Okay. Robert Sterling says, now, dude, this video, I can't tell if I did too much or if this is actually good because there's a lot here. Robert Sterling says Joe Rogan won't have Kamala Harris on his show unless she comes to his studio and sits for a 2 to 3 hour full interview like Trump did. We've entered the era in which podcast hosts have more power than a sitting vice president. Thanks to a free and uncensored internet, the democratization of media and news reporting has finally been realized decades after online pioneers first dreamed of the possibility. This is why establishment politicians and regime journalists are so afraid of podcasts and social media, and why they will continue to aggressively push for regulation. A college dropout who started his career hosting Fear Factor and working as a UFC commentator is able to dictate terms to a vice president, former senator, and former attorney general of the largest state in America. Fuck that bitch. The presidential election is in 1 week, and she needs him and his audience far more than he needs her. You gotta love seeing it. So you don't need to see this, but this is Rogan talking about, how the agreement that they were trying to come to with Kamala. I don't even like saying her name, bro. This horrible witch woman, devil woman. Be gone, devil woman. Chief Nerd says, after just one day, the Rogan podcast with Trump is already his 7th most watched episode of all time. It currently has 37 million views, even after being totally shadow banned, which would put it at number 3 now after just Bob Lazar and Edward Snowden. I think it's very interesting that a lot of these are, you got Alex Jones conspiracy, Bob Lazar kind of conspiracy, Graham Hancock conspiracy, Randall Carlson conspiracy, Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson conspiracy, Cat Williams conspiracy, Russell Brand kind of conspiracy. So these are very popular. I'm realizing that, the Overton window is very different than it's purported to be. So what do we got here? So I think that's it. I think that was, nope, it's not. There's still one more. Okay. What do we got here? I got to fix one thing. One sec. Uno momento, por favor. Democrats winning this election is more critical for regime survival than the Soviets winning the Battle of Stalingrad. Elite consensus will not survive another 4 years of Trump. Collapse will be glorious. So, what do we got to say? Dude, it's over. It's over for these people. The word is out. No matter, let's just say Kamala wins. It still doesn't change anything because the end of the beginning has arrived, and the beginning is when people realize that if you're gonna give someone power, you should probably a lot of power, you should probably be forced to listen to them, or they should be forced to be not even grilled, but just talk, what do you think about this? Well, but what about that? Just hear a long conversation with them to get a sense of, whether these people are legit or not. Because, why wouldn't you? I was trying to come up with a reason, but it's in this day and age, it's insane to think you wouldn't want that. Why in the F would you give someone power based on some snippets and sound bites? It's fucking insane. So it's all over, and this is going to lead to two things. One is a radical reorganization of power, because it's going to turn out that a lot of the people that power has selected for in the televisual age, to use the phrasing of Matthew Peterson, are not selected for in the age of podcasts, because these are dumb fucks who don't actually have anything to say, and they're actually just kind of evil, and they might even just be pedophiles who got put there, so that they can be controlled by moneyed interest and such. Whereas in the age of podcasts, you're gonna want thoughtful, charismatic people. Who have a grasp of issues and who can think on their feet and talk extemporaneously. And there's really no going back from this. This is a one-way door that we are walking through as we speak, regardless of who wins this current election. And so, Democrat, Republican is suck a dick / blow me. It hardly fucking matters. But because of the concept of the uniparty. But what does matter is actual people. And so the actual people that are going to start rising to power are very different. I'm repeating myself, but there's one caveat here. The empire is absolutely going to strike back, especially in Europe. And look up the Digital Services Act. I've made videos about this. We can make more videos about this. Look up Mike Benz, MikeBenz, and so they're going to try to use Europe because they don't have free speech, they don't have a First Amendment, to try to sort of globally control free speech via Europe. So it's because it's illegal in Europe, you just have to globally censor it. And so that's the war that's coming. There's a huge fucking war that's well underway, but it's sort of barely just begun. And as I also made a video on this, but as Mark Andreessen said, then the next war is the war for whether AI is nerfed or not. Can the AI actually tell you the truth, or are they going to try to censor the AI? So these are huge issues with huge implications, and I actually feel like I really have just done a kind of like civic duty in presenting these ideas from all of these kind of disparate sources that are all very good. I feel like every single thing I read was, primo, top shelf, kind buds. So anyway, good shit. Good shit. Go fuck yourself. Peace.
Otis5D.xyz.
Go fuck yourself.